Good afternoon, it's How Do You Dooley here. I'm Orla and today I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Frank Berry, filmmaker. I was very privileged the week before last to be at the screening of your new film, I Used to Live Here. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It goes on general release 3rd of April, is it?
That's right.
3rd of April.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have a chat with you today just about the whole process of the film and the making of the film and so on and so forth. So first off, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for talking to us today.
Not at all.
Delighted. You took a huge amount of time on the research, the development, getting everything into place for the movie. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, when I started the process, I didn't know how long that was going to be. So it was a journey of kind of discovery, really. You know, I read the article in the Irish Times, I think it was in June 2011. And it was an article, it was called We Must Give Young People a Reason to Live. And then there was this part 2 of that article, Breaking the Ripple Effects of Suicide. And it really had an impact on me. I knew that I really wanted to make a film about this pretty quickly after I read it. I didn't know quite how I would do it. Yeah. The idea of making a documentary on this subject, I wasn't sure about that. So I just figured that I would research some more. I contacted Dr. Tony Bates, and that was a really great thing to do because he was very warm and very encouraging, and he didn't think the idea was crazy. He thought we didn't discuss the film very much at the beginning. We discussed mental health. We discussed the lives of young people. He talked a little bit about his own background in James's Hospital and how a lot of people who would come to see him would be talking about things that happened to them in their teenage years. Yeah. So he decided to focus on teenagers and to talk to young people.
And for people who don't know, Tony Bates is the founder of Headstone.
Sorry, yes, Tony Bates. Yeah, he's the writer of the article. The article, I thought to myself, I should really contact the person who wrote this, Dr. Tony Bates, and he happened to be the founding director of the National Centre for Youth Mental Health. We started there. So it was very, very much a gradual process. Yeah. And the more I learnt about the power of exposure to suicide in real life, and I contacted the National Suicide Research Foundation in Cork, who are based in the University of Cork, who'd done a study on suicide clusters, and learned more, educated myself really on the dynamic and on the research that had been done, and realised that this happens in a lot of communities. The power of being exposed to a real suicide in your life is quite strong. A lot of people around you talk about the subject. It becomes something that's discussed a lot. And I think sometimes for young people, for a young person in crisis who is not opening up to a responsible adult, to somebody that they trust, sadly they can see, or they start to see suicide as perhaps an option for them, tragically, because it's been talked about, it's in the world, it's in the ether and the discussions a lot. They also see the way young people, perhaps somebody who may have died in their school, in their family, or in their community, how they're spoken about. Yes. There's an outpouring of love. And it just really struck me very early on how tragic this is, that it's not quite common knowledge that when a suicide tragedy takes place in a community, that it can affect others immediately, and that we need to take care and be vigilant and be open and be aware of this. Yeah. And I thought, well, okay, that's a good reason to make a film. So let's maybe think about making a film about that, put that up on the screen. And the more I thought about it, the idea came to me that it should be a drama. Yes. That it's not actually going to depict anything real. Yeah. So that it would be something that would be truthful, that we could discuss, and it would be realistic. I will do my very best to make it look like it represents a world that we live in. Yeah. But it would not be something that there would be no real tragedies depicted in the film. And you know, Tony Bates and Micheline Egan in there was wonderful in Headstrong. Didn't blink when I told them this story. They were really engaged, and then I said, okay, well, I'll tell you a bit about the story that I'm thinking of. It's about a displaced girl, and I'll never forget the first time I actually told them this story, because I just went into this world and I just explained it, and they didn't move. They were just so transfixed by it, and they at the end of it, just very, very gently, they started talking about the story and about Amy, like she was a real person.
Right. Yeah.
And we, you know, we talked about her the loss of her mum, and we talked about how she must be feeling, and how she's displaced, and her connection with her mum, and how she loses her way, but how she manages to find her way back. Yeah. And that was, you know, so that year of going in and out of Headstrong was really where the heart of the film, the heart of the story, came together, and I kind of felt that I had positioned myself very responsibly and very well early on, and I just felt that they gave me the confidence to tackle such a difficult subject. With
something like this, do you feel it's something that can encompass you? Did Amy become a person for you?
She became quite real when I took the next step and I went out to Kilnarden.
Yeah.
And I spent a long time in Kilnarden and met a lot of the wonderful young people, and had you know, it was an incredible experience. I met some incredible people, and you know, I talked an awful lot about youth mental health, about young people's lives, about the state of mental health in Ireland with the young people, with the youth workers.
Yeah.
And with, well, I didn't talk about that with the young people, I spoke about that with the youth workers, and with the parents, and a lot of the adults who would work in the community centre. So there was an awful lot of discussion about that. And yeah, the story started to get more real as their input found its way into the film.
It is absolutely beautiful. I think, you know, without giving anything away about the film for anybody who hasn't seen it, there were 2 moments in it, actually there was lots of moments in it that blew me away. I silently cried sitting watching it. I thought how you handled the whole subject matter was just done with beautiful taste, I think is the best way to say it.
Thank you.
It's real. I felt Amy was absolutely a person, you know, it didn't feel like this whole dramatised piece. But there was 2 moments in it. One where Amy is trying to make her way back from the city centre to Tallaght. And I don't know if it was an intentional shot sequence or whatever it's called. I'm not a film buff. But there is a sequence where she has asked for directions and she's walking, and we know why she is so clean-faced and why her hair is so beautifully clean. It was supposed to be a big occasion for her that particular day. But the sense of her against the rest of the world, absolutely, that was where I began crying. Her hair is so clean, her hair is moving with the wind. She's lost in every single aspect of how somebody can be lost. And I just thought, wow, you know, if that one scene was the whole film, it just delivered so much. I think it was really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Was that intentional? Did it just, you know, obviously it didn't just happen, but you know, did it kind of just flow of itself? It was just beautiful.
Thank you. A lot of it is intentional, and a lot of it happens in the moment.
Yes.
Is the best way to say it, really. And that scene, you know, it goes on quite a long time when she's walking, and so it was the feeling you're talking about of her feeling lost. This is the beginning of her real disappointment in the world. It's quite a sequence in the film. It goes on for quite a while, and you know, and so I knew where this was in the story and how important it was in the story. And I remember saying to Colin Mullen, a wonderful cinematographer, just to keep going, keep walking. And to Jordan Jones, who plays Amy, she's great, but she just has this incredible intuition, astonishing intuition. I actually don't ever remember saying to her, "Keep walking, Jordan." It was just to call him, just keep going, because she would just stay in it until she heard me say, "Okay, that's enough," you know.
Yeah.
And you know, she was just an absolute joy to have come across.
Mesmerising to watch. I found it very difficult to believe that she was, you know, she's an amateur actor.
Yeah, she's an extraordinary talent, and she's an extraordinary person.
Yes.
She's, you know, she's an extraordinary person to work with. You know, for the 6 months that we shot, you know, I mean, you know, there was a lot of young people in the film, and they just kept us all going.
Yeah.
You know, there was one time in the film when you know, I was having a day that was kind of stressful, you know, and keeping it in, you know. But Jordan said to me, "Frank, do some directors go do this, do that, you know, walk over there, you know?" I said, "I suppose they do, you know." And she said to me, "Yeah, well, I suppose we're lucky, aren't we?"
Ah.
And
brought you back to normal.
Yeah, but I thought that, you know, the young people are supporting me here, you know, and they were absolutely incredible. You know,
there's a fabulous energy, I think, in the offcuts afterwards that we got to see. I don't know if that's part of the movie itself, and watching their energy with each other, and I think the respect for the whole subject matter is just the dynamics of people working together like that, especially people predominantly so young. I mean, Raymond, the dad, is brilliant in it. His, you know, I suppose his pivotal scene with Amy is just really, really good. I didn't feel it was contrived or overacted or anything else. It just, at one point I was Googling to see, is he actually her dad? Because there was just that lovely camaraderie between them. And yet that sense of, "Dad, you're doing me head in, well, you're also doing me head in," kind of thing. Yes,
well James, he was another fabulous collaborator, because we would talk about, he works in community addiction response, you know, so he's the manager of CARP in Kilnarden. And he basically works in the centre next door, and he popped in. Obviously he's a really, really nice guy and very friendly. He popped in to see what we were doing, and I said, "Put up a chair there," you know, and he game for a laugh, he read, you know. But you know, his working with him didn't really, I wouldn't describe it as being, you know, oh, he was a great actor to work with. He was somebody who cares very much about the subject, and somebody who's very, you know, he has a lot of very strong opinions about this, because he works in the area, in the community. And we talked a lot about youth mental health, about men actually in the community. We talked about people that he knows. I talked a lot about my own life, about my own feelings and my own thoughts, and he would share. And then we were so, you know, on the same page as to what this film was. When it came down to it, to the scenes, you know, he was able to, he knew what the scene needed, because we talked so much about the subject and about the film. So it wasn't a case of working with someone saying, "Be angrier," or "Be this," or "Be that," because we were kind of beyond that, really. Do you know what I mean?
His emotions were invested in it as well.
Yeah, he knew what the film needed, what the scene needed. He, you know, yeah, he was fabulous, fabulous to work with.
There was another scene, and I think it was less the scene more than the words that were used, and I'm going to have to read them. And again, I don't want to give anything away, but there's a group together, and one girl says, "He's going to regret this," and the reply is, "How can you regret this? You can't regret something when you're dead."
Okay.
You know? I just thought, wow, was that a quote from somebody, or was this something that you just felt intensely emotionally, because it is emotional? There's no two ways.
Well, yeah, that came from the research quite early on, that you know, a lot of young people, they're at a stage in their lives and their level of comprehension, and they're talking about a young person who has died. Young people, a lot of them are at a stage where they don't fully comprehend the finality of the act, and so I felt that was important to put in. So you know, there was this dynamic involved in, you know, that's common in suicide clusters among young people, where the person who died is talked about a lot, you know, and this is there's an outpouring of love for them, and there's this sense that other young people involved in this don't really fully understand what they're talking about.
But there's a finality.
There's a finality to it, and that it's not going to make you, you know, famous, or, you know, or have everyone talk about you, and how great would that be? You know. So I felt that was important to put across.
Yeah, I thought it was poignant, but it was just. It was very defining. You know, I thought it was a very defining moment. You know, it's such a sensitive subject matter. Do you think, having done something like this, I've seen part of Ballymun Lullaby, I'm planning on seeing all of it, very joyous kind of a feel to Ballymun Lullaby. I know you've worked on other community projects as well, but do you feel after something like this that, I think, and this is my personal opinion, that once it's on general release in cinemas, I think the feedback you're going to get will be phenomenal. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke, because it just absolutely moved me on the day. But do you think you would be inclined to move away from this kind of project now? Do you see yourself going more towards a commercial sector, or is this where you feel happy with? Is this intensity where you feel happy with?
It's really hard to predict, you know, but all I know is that at the moment I'm working with former prisoners.
Okay.
And they're in an educational environment, and sitting down talking about life to people who have lived life and who have experiences and are in a reflective mode or mood. I'm never happier than in that, in exploring, because I believe that that, you know, people talk about community filmmaking, and it can denote for some people small audiences, because it can denote a community audience, you know. But for me, we all live in a community. Absolutely. You know, and community, if you tell a story for a community, you're telling a story for a lot of communities. And so you know, telling stories about what's around you in your life it can be huge, you know, and can say a lot about life, you know. So I intend to keep working in that way. I'm also realistic that to make films with a budget, you need certain things in place. So I would love to make films with actors that I admire, but also to keep a foot very firmly in the real world as well, and to make a film that might have established actors and non-professional actors, or to research heavily with non-professionals, you know. Like, I always loved the Jimmy McGovern dramas, you know, with the Dockers, and you know, that idea of actually going to the source, and, you know, there's something fundamental about the artistic practice where you go somewhere, and you bring something back for the audience, you know, and you've actually gone on a journey. You actually have something that's valuable. You know, that will always be. Like, I never see myself as a director for hire. Okay. And not to denigrate directors for hire at all. Absolutely. And I love loads of films made in that way. But for me, I'm just interested in working like this. I find it personally satisfying, you know.
And you're a teacher here as well in Closhtadooley. We're very lucky to have you here, obviously, as a teacher.
Thank you.
I know, having, you know, just heard people in the corridors and stuff like that talking, that obviously everybody here is very proud of you. It's great to be able to say, you know, it's one of our own, you know, has done this phenomenal project. But do you think your sense of compassion about how you look at a project and how you proceed through the whole creative process, do you think that's something that, you know, you're giving a part of that to your students, as opposed to perhaps in another college where it's about, you know, meeting your budget lines, meeting your end target, getting something that can be sold? Do you think, I would think it's a benefit, but do you think that's a benefit that you're giving to them?
I hope so. You know, what I do is what I try and do with students is to listen to them and to respect that they're all on an individual creative path, and to listen to what that is and to help them along that path, you know. I'm not necessarily trying to turn them all into making films that I would like to make. I try and listen to them and encourage them. So the graduate work that comes out of Cláiste Dúlaigh, would reflect the filmmakers taking part in the course, and what they want to do. And I love that. I absolutely love that. I love listening to what people want to do and trying to nurture that, you know, and to just listen to who they are. So I find teaching and filmmaking, for me personally, not a million miles apart.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Because up until this point in my career, if I'm standing out in Tallaght with a camera and a bunch of people, and we're talking about life, we're engaging in a practice with a camera, and we're trying to achieve something. The same in Ballymun, even though that was a documentary, but if you spoke to Darren Scully or Tara O'Brien from Ballymun Lullaby, they would probably, if someone from that film spoke to one of the young people in Tallaght, they may say the atmosphere was quite similar.
Yes.
You know, it's about relaxing people and getting them to express themselves, you know. Well, teaching in Coolock, if I am standing outside here with a bunch of students and a camera, it's not a million miles away. And I feel like I've reached a place in my life where it kind of, what I am interested in doing kind of makes sense. You know, not that I will always make films on this scale, but I found a way of working where where that makes sense to me, and that may evolve and change, of course. But it's something that I'm finding satisfying, you know.
Yeah, I think it's good to find your niche and be happy with it, and to run with your niche as long as your niche stays the same. I think money in relation to a project like this nearly sounds like a dirty word, but I know that you did have issues initially with getting funding. Do you think it had already gotten that much inside you that, you know, regardless of getting funding, this was going to be a finished, you know, fait accompli?
Yes, because the connection with the people I was working with, I'm still working with, you know, Eileen Hederman and you know, Trish Kane and all the participants, and Hilda Hamilton in the community centre. You know, when you go out and sit down and talk about this subject, it was a before and after. We all felt the need to make the film. And of course, this incredibly felt very passionate about it, the need to make this film. It was very difficult to raise funding because, you know, I think some of the places I went would have felt they needed to control it completely, you know, and so it's kind of understandable in a way. And also, I didn't want it to be funded from any organisation that would have a message, because I felt it needed to be an artistic work. So we just, you know, it was very much whatever, you know, we just kept going, and then we were like, well, how will we do this, you know? And then the model of filmmaking that we said we'd do was that if the film ever make any money, that we would share and put 50% of it into a fund in the community centre that may, buy an Xbox or send the young people on a trip, but something, a fund that would directly benefit the young people that use the service, you know. And so we just kept going, and it really was a collaborative process between a filmmaker and a community, you know.
Yeah. And then you went to Galway for the FLA, and, you know, came out flying the flag high, you know. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous achievement. Yeah,
lots of the actors in the film and Eileen came down for that, and, you know, we weren't expecting that, to be honest with you. It wasn't, you know, something that we thought would happen, or we never thought about it really, to be honest with you, because I literally finished the film, you know, very, very quickly before. I can't remember if it was days or weeks, it's all a bit of a blur now, but it was definitely in July. We finished the film and went straight to Galway, and it was a rush to finish it, really. So, you know, it was still, I mean, even sitting in Galway, I was still looking at the film going, oh, maybe I should have, you know, there's that period when you finish a film where you are still editing even though it's over. Yeah. You know, and there's that period where I still wasn't out of that process yet, so I was still looking at it almost like I was watching a cut, you know. Well, it was the final cut, you know. It was very, very, yeah, it was very, very, very tight. So yeah, it was a surprise, but it was wonderful because it was a great piece of encouragement for us all, and everybody was you know, was delighted for something great to happen on its very first screening, you know.
Absolutely wonderful. And for Jordan and David, I think is the other lead.
Yeah.
So many brilliant people actually in the whole movie or the whole film, and every time I thought I had decided, you know, okay, you had that most powerful part and you had that most powerful part. I think in reflection, there's an awful lot of really, really strong characters, but obviously David and Amy Jordan just really carried it. What for them now, do you think? Will they go on to?
Yeah, they both want to, and they've both been given acting scholarships in Bow Street Acting Academy, an invite from Shimmy Marcus and from Maureen Hughes, casting agent. So they're fans of them, and they're going out there now every week. So they're delighted, you know. They just have a very, very natural, non-fussy relationship to the camera. The camera just can, you know, really. I don't want to say camera loves them, but you know what I mean.
There is a sense of the camera, you know. This is going to sound really arty-farty, but you know, nearly that Jordan, in a couple of instances, you know, that you're in her soul. You know, that this her character Amy is just so laid bare. And I think lots of the times it's in what she's not saying. Lots of the times it's in the silences or the sense between the pair of them, you know, where they're not speaking, or he says, you know, sometimes you don't speak for fear you'll say something stupid. And it's like, wow, yeah, you know, that's...
Yeah, yes. Well, both Jordan and David, you know, they both took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't give them typical direction in that way. It was discussions about young people, and we also had a lot of fun as well. But I got the feeling from them both that they knew what they were in.
Yes.
And that there was just we talked about speaking for young people.
Yeah.
You know, that this young people will be able to see this and not feel as alone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think if that was the only message that was to come out of it, it's fabulous. So next project is the one you're working on?
Yeah, I'm researching it. Yeah, I'm researching a project, something similar in its kind of aims, really, which is to put something up on the screen to take a look at it, you know. And so it's called Michael Inside, and it's about a young man who goes to prison for a short spell. So it's about him going inside, but also inside of him, you know, and how it affects him, and it's about his relationship with his granddad. So I'm, you know, I've written the story quite similar to the last process. I've written the story, now I'm taking it into the real world, and it's hopefully it will start evolving, and you know, we'll see where that goes.
Okay. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I could actually sit here all day and talk to you, but I'm quite sure the film might run out at some point. The film goes on general release on the 3rd of April.
Yes.
Is it going to be countrywide, or is it in...
Well, it's Dublin, so there's about 6 cinemas in Dublin, and then I think it depends on how well it's received, possibly. They might go further afield around Ireland, but there will be access cinema screenings in different, you know, around Ireland. So it's the film will be available for people very soon. We hope it'll have a live screening in environments that want it, and I think that it will be used it'll have a positive impact. So
I believe
you know.
when it was filmed in the school in Killinarden, the response was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the sense of pride.
It was,
fill up just even thinking.
It
about
was
the sense of
absolutely,
pride.
it was amazing, and the you know, think of it, a room of 60-second level kids. You know, they didn't move for the whole film. You know, and there was a real sense of, genuine sense of pride. You know, and a real sense of, because a lot of people in the audience were from, had parts in the film, and there was a sense that they had really taken an opportunity, and the benefit of actually seeing an opportunity and not letting an opportunity in your life pass you by, just to take the opportunity and see where it goes, you know. It was, I mean, it was fabulous, yeah.
Frank, it was absolutely beautiful to talk to you.
Thank you.
This is Howdy Dooley. My guest today was Frank Berry. After this, I will be showing a clip of the trailer from the beautiful, beautiful movie I Used to Live Here. Frank Berry, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.